Hello, the internet. Welcome to the results of the Sweet 16. We started this tournament off with about 100 different games between the play-ins and the rounds of 64. And we're down to the last 16, and we're about to announce who the final 8 were going to be, who made it on to the Elite 8. These are all the best of the best, although some of these are slightly better than others. With the exception of one game, all the winning games scored at least an 18 out of 20. So how this works is we play a game, me and my oldest boy. We both rate the game scale 1 to 10, add it up to 2 scores. Highest score wins, moves on, lowest one's out. Early rounds, if this game scores really low, we vote to see whether the game even stays in the library or not, and we voted off more than a dozen games out of our library in the course of this tournament. But here we are, the last 16. Spoiler alert, there were 3 huge upsets in this round, and probably more to come in the next round. So, with no further ado, let's begin. This is the North. This is the West. This is the East, and these 4 games were left in the South. All right, starting in the North, we had the 1 seed. The outside, so the top row and very, very bottom row were the favorites. Well, the higher seed, the better seed anyways, and the ones in the middle were the lower seed. Although at this point in the tournament, some of the middle row are scoring higher than the top rows, and they're kind of the favorite, but kind of not the favorites. It's, kind of complicated at this point. So we start off with the 1 seed, which was Star Realms, versus the team that came in from the playing round that replaced the 4 seed, Jump Drive. And the score of this one was Star Realms, 18.5. Jump Drive, 18.5. There were 2 ties in this round, so we had to go to a tiebreaker. First tiebreaker, both me and my kid vote for the game out of the 2 we like the best. If we vote the same, that one moves on. If not, we figure out another tiebreaker. So we both voted. My kid voted for Jump Drive, the engine building game. I voted for Jump Drive. Jump Drive knocked off not just the 1 seed in the North, but the 1 seed overall in the tournament and the winner of last year's tournament. Star Realms is out. So we will not have a repeat winner. It is going to be a new game's turn to win. And the new games did very well. All right. In the 2-3 matchup, we have Legend of Drist, the dungeon dweller game, versus Ticket to Ride Old West. Now, you're looking at the box, you're probably saying it says Ticket to Ride France. Well, a lot of these boxes, especially Ticket to Ride, have 2 games in them. And when there's 2 games, we only play the game that we like the best. We do not like Ticket to Ride France. But we do like Ticket to Ride Old West. Ticket to Ride France has a weird game mechanic that you have to build your routes before you can play your routes. It's just kind of weird, and we did not like it. So, the score for this one. Legend of Drist, 17. Ticket to Ride Wild West, which is my second favorite of all the Ticket to Ride games. I like it a lot better than Europe and USA. Those 2 games I like less every time I play them. 18.25. So Ticket to Ride Old West will move on to the Elite 8. They face up against Jump Drive, with the winner of that game moving on to the Final 4. The favorite of that game, of course, is Jump Drive. All right, now we move to the West. The 1 seed, Titan, versus newcomer number 2 by Cryptozoic, which took over the 5 seed. It came from the play-ins. Titan, my favorite game. My kid doesn't like it so much. He actually tries to get his Titan killed so that he could lose the game. He really enjoys losing that game because otherwise the game could take a while. And he doesn't have the attention span for that long of a game. So it only scored a 17.5. It's not going to be a 1 seed next year. In fact, it's not going to be a 1 seed in this tournament anymore because Naruto scored an 18.5. So that's 2 1 seeds down. And 2 newcomers that have moved on to the Elite 8. All right, in the 2-3, the 2 seed Rick and Morty scored an 18.75. There was only one game that scored higher than 18.75 in this round. And that game was Power Grid, who scored a 19, another big upset. So we lose 2 1 seeds and a 2 seed. And the games from the play-ins, Power Grid and Naruto, will move on to face up each other in the next round for a trip to the Final Four, where a 1 and 2 seed are out. All right, moving on. So by the way, 18.75 was the highest score of any team that lost. 18.5, which was Star Realms, was the second highest losing. So when it comes to seeding next year, if we do this again next year, those will be the teams that got knocked out. Their seeding will be based on their final score. So they will be pretty high up there. There'll be 1 or 2 seeds, maybe a 3 seed at best for a lot of them, where some of the teams that fell out, like Legend of Drist at 17, will more likely be a 5 or 6 seed. So next year won't be as good of a path for it. Probably won't make it quite as far next year. All right, moving on to the East Division. We have our 1 seed, Hero Realms, which was our runner-up last year, versus the 5 seed, Ticket to Ride Europe. The more I play Ticket to Ride Europe, the less I like it. I used to like it more than the US because I thought it was a more balanced game, whereas the US map was pretty easy to game. The thing I don't like about Ticket to Ride Europe is you get 1 of 6 long routes. And the problem is there's a couple of those long routes that are almost impossible to win with. That if you get that long route, you've automatically lost the game. And a couple of the others, you have to play in a very specific way to win the game. And I don't like that. I don't like when the game's decided before you even make your first choice. And so for that, I've been rating it down lower and lower each time I play it. As a result, it only got a 16.5, which was the second lowest score in the round of in the Sweet 16. So it will not be moving on. Hero Realm scored an 18, knocking off Ticket to Ride Europe, which, to be honest, will probably be a 6 or 7 seed next year. Maybe even an 8 seed next year. I'll have to see. We'll see. But it won't be a high seed next year. Of course, it was a 5 seed this year. So, all right. In our 2-3 matchup, we had Tourney versus Agricola. Tourney is another game that's a decent game, but the more I play it, the less I like it. It's still a decent game, but it's not a great game. And as a result, it got a 15.5, which was the lowest score in the Sweet 16. And Agricola won that with the lowest winning score. They only scored below 18 with a 17.5. So it will move on to play Hero Realms. But, I mean, that's a game that could go anyway. To be honest, Jump Drive versus Wild West could go anyway. This one could go anyway. This one could go anyway. Look out next round. Next round, you might as well just start flipping coins if you're trying to predict where this tournament's going. That's about how good you'd be out predicting them. It should be a very interesting round. These are 8 very, very good teams that are moving on to the next round. I mean, I really like Agricola. It's just my kid didn't score as high this particular round. All right, and moving on to the South Division, we had Penny Arcade, the 1 seed, versus Seven Wonders. Seven Wonders is a 3-player game, so my wife has to help us play this one. You know, every time we play, it's pretty classic. But it only scored an 18.25, which was better than it had scored in the previous round. So it came up, but Penny Arcade an 18.75. Penny Arcade, the 1 seed, moving on. So we had 2 1 seeds move on. And we're going to have 3 2 seeds move on. With the other 3 games being play-ins from the games that won the play-ins. Or the top 3 of the play-ins. All right, and then we have the San Juan. I kind of gave this one away, but we had San Juan versus Ticket to Ride India. Ticket to Ride India is my favorite Ticket to Ride game. I kind of like it. My kid actually beat me in this one because he took a big risk at the end, and it paid off to 23 points. And so instead of losing by 9, he won by 12. I mean, he could have gotten 2 points by doing something else. For those of the math, like the math didn't quite work there. But and it scored 18.5, so it is definitely going to be a high seed next year. But it was not quite enough to beat San Juan, which scored 18.5. Again, a tiebreaker. We voted for the game we like better. We both like San Juan better. San Juan, moving on. So there's the Elite 8. We got Jump Drive versus Old West, Naruto versus Power Grid, Penny Arcade versus San Juan, and Hero Realms versus Agricola. Which one of those is going to win it all? Let me know who you're rooting for. In terms of the publishers, for those who are wondering, because I kind of talked about this before, Rio Grande was expected to only have 1 game move on to the Elite 8. But it had 3 move on, which was Jump Drive, San Juan, which it says Ravenburger, but it's actually a Rio Grande game, and Power Grid. 2 of those are actually favorites to win in the Elite 8, or favorites to make it to the Final 4. And right now, the overall favorite, Power Grid, which scored the highest, 19, but I mean, everything else is only half point behind. It really could be anyone's game. Power Grid is the favorite to make it all the way. We'll see if that actually happens. I love Power Grid. Power Grid's great. Cryptozoic, 2 were favored. 2 actually moved on. Not necessarily the 2 that were supposed to move on, but 2 did move on. And 1 is favored in the Final 4, or to make it to the Final 4, which is Penny Arcade. Penny Arcade make it, and Naruto made it. Naruto is not favored because it's going up against Power Grid, but hey, it could beat it. It really could. We like both of these games. They're both awesome games. Days of Wonder had 1 favorite, one that was expected to make it into the Elite 8. 1 actually did, which was Ticket to Ride the Old West, but it is not favored to make it to the Final 4. Z-Man Games had 1 favorite. 1 actually made it in, which was Agricola, but it is not favored to make it to the Elite 8. That would be Hero Realms, which is a White Wizard game. And then Avalon Hill and Wizards of the Coast had 1 game in the Sweet 16. Neither advanced to the Elite 8. So those 2 publishers are out of the tournament. And so we have, of the top 4 publishers, we have 7 games of the 8 in the Elite 8. The only one that is not one of those 4 publishers was this, because I only have 2 games by this particular company, so I didn't include it, which means I probably need to buy another game by this company. I just do. At some point. And of which this one's expected to move on, and then just Rio Grande Crypto, Days of Wonder, and Z-Man are expected to drop out into the Final 4. So that's how the publishers work. So right now, Rio Grande has the lead with 3 games. So we'll see which publisher wins it all. So that is all for the Sweet 16. There are your games. 2 1 seeds out. Star Realms is out. Titan is out. Rick and Morty, the 2 seed, is out. So 3 big, giant upsets and the setup for many upsets to come. I mean, we could get an upset here. We could get an upset here. We could get an upset here. And we could get an upset here. Although this one's probably the least likely. But you never know. I mean, Agricola was scoring 18 before. It just had a bad round. So who knows? Stay tuned. We have possibly some big ones to come. This next video is going to be coming out in probably about a week. This tournament so far has been a long one. We started the play-ins back in October. It's now May, and I'm actually going to probably post this the day of actually doing the video for the first time ever, because things have finally caught up to us. The next video will probably be about 10 days, because 8 games will take us over a week to play probably. Although Jump Drive, we could possibly play Jump Drive and Old West on the same day, because Jump Drive is a really quick game. I think that's Hero Realms is a little bit quick, but I don't think quick enough to do 2 games in one day. So we'll see. We'll see. It'll be what my kid wants to do. But so until the next video, this is what it looks like. And so we're now on to the Elite 8, and then we'll do the Final 4. Actually, with the Final 4, we'll do a Final 4 and the championship match in one video. The Final 4 will be best of 3. The final will be best of 5. So is that an excuse for us to play the 2 or 4 games we like the best more? Yes, that's exactly what that is. You should set up rules for that to give you an excuse to play the games you like the best. I mean, why else would you play a tournament like this other than to play the games you like the most and figure out which ones you like the most, what types of games you like the most, which publishers you like the most, and which ones you don't need anymore, and which ones you can skip. If you're at the game store and looking to buy a new board game, you know which ones to skip. So until next time, that's all. Let me know who you want to see win.